All right, let's dive into Malayalam today. I know you're ready to learn more about this language, and we've got a pretty cool visual guide with us.
Oh, cool.
A YouTube video called Why is Malayalam So Mysterious?
It's from a channel called India in Pixels by Ashris,
Okay.
and they make these awesome visually rich videos about Indian culture.
Very cool.
Yeah, so their take on Malayalam is no exception.
Cool.
Yeah. So right away, the video points out this thing you've probably already noticed about the word Malayalam. It looks like a palindrome,
Right.
reads the same backward as forward, but there's a twist,
There's a what?
a pronunciation twist.
Oh, right. Yeah, the pronunciation makes things a little more complicated. Even though it looks like a palindrome, the two L's in Malayalam are actually pronounced differently.
Oh, really?
The first one is a standard L,
Okay.
but the second one is retroflex. So you make it by curling your tongue back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's more accurate to pronounce it Malayalam.
Malayalam.
Yeah. Okay. It seems like a subtle difference, but I bet that has a big impact on the sound of the language.
It does. And it's also a common feature in Dravidian languages.
Dravidian languages.
Yeah, that's a family of languages mostly spoken in South India.
Okay.
Think of it like the Romance languages, Spanish, French, Italian.
Right.
They all share a common ancestor,
Uh-huh.
so they've got similar features. And, this phonetic complexity is a hint at how intricate Malayalam is. And it definitely plays a role in its reputation as a difficult language to master.
Oh, yeah. Even for native speakers of other Indian languages.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. The video even mentions that the Indian Army used Malayalam as a code language.
Wow.
It would be pretty hard to decipher if you had no background in the language.
Totally. That reputation for being complex, it's something we'll see come up again and again as we explore all the nuances of Malayalam.
Okay, cool. Now, another misconception that the video addresses is this idea that Malayalam is just a simple mix of Tamil and Sanskrit, which makes sense given where Kerala is, right?
Well, yeah, Kerala is in the southwestern corner of India,
Right.
and Tamil and Sanskrit have definitely influenced Malayalam, but it's much more than just a simple blend of those two.
Okay.
Malayalam has unique features that really set it apart.
Okay, like what kind of unique features?
Well, for instance, Malayalam often uses the J sound,
Okay.
like the word Njan, meaning I.
Yan.
Yeah, that's not a sound you find in Tamil or Sanskrit.
Interesting.
And then you've got the double nasal sounds.
Oh, yeah, those were trippy in the video.
Yeah. Those can be tough for people who aren't native speakers.
Right.
The video uses the word manja as an example.
Manja. What does that mean?
It means yellow.
Okay. And they also talked about the emphasis on the vowel O, right?
Oh, yeah, especially at the end of words to make questions.
Right, like sukam means good,
Huh?
but then sukamano means are you good?
Yes, exactly. So this interplay of unique sounds, like the nasals, that retroflex L, the prominent O, it all gives Malayalam its own distinct flavor.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a recipe. You blend familiar ingredients,
Yeah,
but you make something totally new and delicious.
totally. Okay, so while Tamil and Sanskrit have played a role, it sounds like Malayalam has its own distinct personality.
Absolutely.
So to really understand how that personality developed, I guess we should look into its family history. The video showed us a visual of the Dravidian language family tree.
Right.
And it really highlights Malayalam's connection to this linguistic lineage.
Absolutely.
So would it be accurate to say that Malayalam is like a descendant of Tamil?
I think that's a good way to think about it. Malayalam emerged as a distinct language from Tamil around 800 AD.
Okay.
But here's the interesting thing.
What's that?
It's preserved some features of Old Tamil that you don't really hear in modern Tamil anymore.
Oh, wow. So it's like Malayalam is a linguistic time capsule,
Exactly.
holding on to those echoes of the past.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So what kind of features are we talking about?
Well, for example, the ZH sound.
Okay.
It's in both Tamil and Malayalam. But the pronunciation in Malayalam is more like how it was pronounced in Old Tamil.
Wow.
And then another example is the N sound. Old Tamil had two different N sounds, but they've merged into one in modern Tamil.
Huh.
But Malayalam still uses both pronunciations.
Wow. That's incredible.
It really shows how deep and complex language evolution can be.
Yeah, absolutely. But the story of Malayalam isn't just about Tamil, is it?
Right.
The video dives into the influence of Sanskrit, too.
Yes, and this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Both Tamil and Malayalam belong to the Dravidian family.
Uh-huh.
But Malayalam embraced Sanskrit's influence more than Tamil did. The arrival of the Namboodiri Brahmins in Kerala, sometime between 300 and 700 AD, played a big part in this.
Oh, the Namboodiris.
Yeah.
Who were they? What brought them to Kerala?
That's kind of a mystery.
Oh, really?
There are lots of theories about their origins. Some people think they came from the Nambur village in Andhra Pradesh.
Okay.
Others think they came from Tamil Nadu or even further north.
Wow.
But wherever they came from, they had a huge impact on Kerala, both socially and linguistically.
Yeah, the video mentioned that the local kings granted them land and authority.
That's right.
It seems like their arrival must have led to this unique kind of cultural fusion, right?
Definitely. The Namboodiris followed a patriarchal system,
Okay.
and they interacted with the local Nair warrior class,
Right.
who had matrilineal traditions. This interaction, called Sambandham, resulted in Namboodiri and Nair lineages mixing.
Interesting.
It's like a reflection of the linguistic fusion that was happening in the language itself.
So it's like this dance between two cultures,
Yeah.
each partner contributing to the evolution of Malayalam.
I like that.
And speaking of fusion, the video mentions this term, manapravalam.
Oh yes, metaprovolem. It's such a beautiful example of this linguistic blending.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's a literary style that combines Tamil and Sanskrit. The word itself comes from mani, meaning ruby in Tamil, and pavalam, which means coral in Sanskrit.
Pavalam.
Yeah.
Isn't that
I love that, like taking these precious gems and combining them to create something even more beautiful.
Exactly. And manapravalam goes even further than just mixing words.
Oh yeah.
It brings in philosophies and ideas too,
Okay.
especially within Vaishnavism. This openness to different influences is a big part of Malayalam's journey. And the video includes a little snippet of a manapravalam composition,
Oh really?
which showcases how those two languages blend together.
I can imagine how beautiful that sounds.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah. But let's move on to how Malayalam is written.
Okay.
The video takes us on a journey through the evolution of its script, starting with the ancient Brahmi script.
Yes, Brahmi, the ancestor of many South Asian scripts, including Malayalam.
Oh wow.
You know, back in ancient times, they would write on palm leaf manuscripts. It was tough to etch straight lines into the leaves.
Right.
Because they would tear.
So because of that, the Brahmi script slowly transformed into this rounded script called Vadazutu.
Vadasutu.
Yeah.
Wow. The video showed visuals of all those different scripts.
Yeah, the visuals are great.
It really helps to see how the shapes of the letters changed.
Yeah, visuals are so helpful for understanding those kinds of transitions. And then it gets even more interesting.
No.
The Vadazutu script ended up merging with the Grantha script,
Grantha script.
which was used for writing Sanskrit.
Okay.
So that fusion created scripts that could write both languages.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the Malayalam script comes from.
Incredible.
Yeah, just goes to show how dynamic and adaptable languages can be.
Yeah. And that's not all.
What else?
The Tulu script, which is used for the Tulu language spoken in southwestern India, it also developed from this same process.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it just highlights how interconnected language evolution is in that region.
Absolutely. It's like this beautiful linguistic tapestry with threads of different scripts weaving together.
Totally. But the story of Malayalam doesn't end there.
Oh, no, not at all. It's
Yeah.
been shaped by so many influences over centuries.
I can't wait to hear more about how Malayalam has interacted with other cultures throughout history.
Me too.
I mean, Kerala, being this vibrant trading hub, must have played a huge role in shaping the language, right?
You're absolutely right. Kerala's coastal location made it a crossroads of cultures, a true melting pot. And Malayalam, always open to diversity, just absorbed all these influences,
Yeah.
creating this rich mix of linguistic variations and dialects.
It's incredible. The video even mentions that Kerala is referenced in the Bible as the land of Ophir.
I know.
It's such a fascinating connection to ancient history. Like, Kerala was already a bustling trading hub centuries ago,
And what?
attracting people from all over the world.
Exactly.
So it's not surprising that its fame would have spread so far, even reaching the authors of the Bible.
That's so cool.
It's just amazing to think about. It makes you wonder what other secrets and stories are hidden in Malayalam's history.
It does, doesn't it?
I'm ready to uncover more. Can you give us some examples of how other cultures have left their mark on the language?
Oh, absolutely. So let's start with the arrival of Apostle Thomas in 52 AD, bringing Christianity to Kerala.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible because it reached Kerala even before many parts of Europe.
Right.
This event had a profound impact on the region.
I bet.
It led to the establishment of a thriving Christian community that's still there today.
Yeah. That's a significant moment in history. I imagine it had a big impact on Malayalam, too.
It definitely did. And then there's the Syrian Christians.
Okay.
They arrived around 500 AD, and they also established a strong presence in Kerala.
Hmm.
They even developed a unique script called Karshoni.
Karshoni.
Yeah.
What's that?
Well, it uses Syriac or Aramaic letters to write Malayalam.
Wow. That's fascinating.
That's such a cool example of how cultures adapt and blend their traditions,
Wow.
even in writing.
Absolutely. So what about other communities? Did they contribute to Malayalam's evolution, too?
Oh, for sure. So in the 1400s, the Jewish community arrived, fleeing persecution in Spain and Portugal.
Oh, wow.
They found refuge in Kerala.
That's incredible.
They brought with them their Ladino dialect and Hebrew script
Wow.
and settled in Kochi, which was known as Ernakulam back then.
Okay.
They created a vibrant community and left behind this rich cultural legacy.
Wow. It's amazing how each community embraced Kerala as their home.
It is.
They really wove their traditions into the fabric of the region.
Yeah. And of course, we can't forget about the Arab traders.
Right.
They've had a long and important presence in Kerala.
They have.
Their influence is especially strong in the coastal communities.
Hmm.
They blended their culture and language with local traditions,
Okay.
adapted the Arabic script to write Malayalam, and even introduced new words and phrases that are now part of everyday speech.
It's just amazing to see how all these diverse influences have come together.
It is, isn't it?
They've shaped Malayalam into this unique and expressive language.
Yeah. It's a real testament to Kerala's history as a crossroads of cultures.
Absolutely. A meeting point for so many different languages and traditions.
That's a great way to put it.
And to refer to all these communities that became a part of Kerala's culture, the video uses this term, mapilas.
Mapilas.
Yeah, maplis. Do you know what it means?
It means son-in-law in Tamil.
Son-in-law.
Yeah. It's an interesting word choice because it kind of parallels the Namboodiri integration.
Yeah, I see that.
Draws a connection between these two groups.
Oh.
Who, on the surface, seems so different.
But they both shaped Malayalam in their own ways.
Exactly.
So both the Namboodiris and the Mapilas, despite their different backgrounds and faiths, became sons-in-law to Kerala,
Yeah, I like that.
enriching its culture and language.
It's a beautiful way to describe it.
But despite all these influences, Malayalam seems to have held on to its core identity, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the most striking parts of that identity is its strong matriarchal traditions.
I remember that from the video.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
They drew parallels to cultures in northeast India, like the Rabha, Garo, and Khasi tribes,
Right.
all of which emphasize feminine values.
Absolutely.
It's really cool to see those cultural threads running through different parts of India.
Yeah, it's amazing how connected things are.
And to further highlight this point, the video brought up that folk tale about Vararuchi and Panchami.
Oh yeah, Parai Pedapantharukalam. It's such a central story in Kerala's culture.
It's come up a few times now, and I'm really intrigued. It seems like more than just a simple folk tale.
It definitely is. The video encourages us to look beyond the literal meaning
Okay.
and focus on what it symbolizes. It suggests that the story of Vararuchi and Panchami represents Kerala's unique social makeup.
How so?
Well, with its blend of different castes and communities,
Right.
it's about highlighting how interconnected everyone is.
So remind me, what's the main point of the story?
It tells the tale of Vararuchi, a Brahmin, and Panchami, a woman from a lower caste. They have 12 children who are adopted by families from different castes.
Wow.
It really emphasizes how intertwined Kerala's society is.
It sounds like a powerful metaphor
It is.
for the blending of different social groups that's shaped Kerala's history.
Exactly. The story suggests this idea of shared ancestry, challenging those strict social hierarchies and emphasizing the human element at the core of cultural identity.
What a beautiful message of unity and diversity.
Isn't it?
And it seems like this theme really resonates throughout Malayalam's journey. The ability to absorb all these different influences while still holding on to a strong core identity.
Absolutely. It's like a river, constantly flowing, taking in tributaries along the way,
I love that.
but still retaining its own unique character.
Yeah, a river. That's a great analogy.
And speaking of the river's journey,
Yeah.
I wonder where it goes from here. What are some of the other things about Malayalam that make it so captivating?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Welcome back to our Malayalam deep dive. We've learned so much already, from those phonetic complexities to its fascinating history.
Yeah, it's really been incredible.
It has. Now let's look at some of the linguistic features that make Malayalam really unique.
I'm ready. The video hinted at some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like how verbs in Malayalam are free from gender. What does that even mean?
Well, it means that the verb doesn't change form depending on whether the subject is male or female. So whether you're talking about a man or a woman, the verb stays the same.
Oh, okay.
That's something that sets Malayalam apart from some of its Dravidian relatives like Tamil, Kannada, and Telugu.
Right.
Those languages change verbs based on gender.
Wow, that's a big difference. It almost makes Malayalam seem more efficient in that way.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's like the language has this built-in sense of equality in its grammar.
That's a really interesting observation.
Yeah?
It does speak to Malayalam's inclusive nature. Now, another unique thing the video talked about is the use of two different kinds of stops, the chilu and the virama.
I remember them mentioning those terms, but I'm not totally clear on what they are.
Okay, no problem. The chilu is like a hard stop at the end of a word, while the virama is a softer sound, kind of like a half U.
A half U.
Yeah, exactly. The video uses the words avan and avanu as examples.
That's fine.
Bada means he,
Okay.
and avanu means him.
So they both end with that N sound.
Right, they both end with an N, but the chilu in avan creates a distinct stop, while the virama in avanu makes it flow a bit more.
Wow, so even these subtle changes in pronunciation can change the meaning of a word.
Exactly. It's all about the nuance in Malayalam.
Nuance is key.
It is. Those tiny variations in pronunciation really are a hallmark of the language.
Yeah.
They add so many layers of meaning, and they highlight how important sound is in Malayalam.
It's incredible how much meaning can be packed into just the way a word is spoken.
Yeah. It's one of the things that makes Malayalam so expressive.
And captivating.
Right.
Okay, it's becoming pretty clear why Malayalam is considered so complex. And then there's the script itself,
Oh, yeah?
which the video compared to jellibees and pretzels.
I know, right? It's a funny comparison,
It is.
but it does capture how intricate the Malayalam script is.
Yeah.
Even simple sounds like A and A have these complicated shapes. And to make things even more challenging, some letters are shared with Tamil,
Oh, really?
but they have totally different meanings in Malayalam.
Oh, wow. So it's like navigating this linguistic maze
Yeah, it is.
where those familiar symbols could lead you to unexpected meanings.
That's a great way to put it.
It makes you appreciate the skill of people who can read and write Malayalam fluently.
Yeah. Mastering that script is no easy feat.
Definitely not.
It takes patience, attention to detail, and a real appreciation for those subtle nuances of the language.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But beyond all the technical stuff, we've got to remember that language is deeply connected to culture.
Right. Well, we've already talked about some of the cultural influences that have shaped Malayalam.
Yeah, like the arrival of those different religious groups and the blending of traditions.
Exactly. But what about Kerala's strong matriarchal traditions? How has that impacted the language?
That's a great question. You know, it's tough to point to specific linguistic features that directly reflect those matriarchal values, but the influence is there in a broader cultural context.
Oh.
Remember, Kerala stands out in India because women have traditionally had more social and economic independence.
Right.
So that cultural context definitely shapes how language is used and understood.
It's fascinating how these underlying cultural currents can shape the way language flows.
It is. Language is much more than just words and grammar.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of the people who speak it, their history, their beliefs, their whole way of life.
Their identity.
Exactly. And for Malayalam, that reflection is rich and multi-layered.
Oh yeah, definitely. The video pointed out that Malayalam is the only Dravidian language that has a letter for that LR vowel sound,
Right.
which I guess only exists in one verb in Sanskrit.
Yeah. It's really interesting that Malayalam adopted that rare sound.
It is. It seems to speak to that inclusive nature of Malayalam that we talked about, that willingness to embrace even the most unusual sounds.
It's like Malayalam is a linguistic sponge, absorbing everything it comes across and making it its own.
That's a great analogy. It brings us back to that core theme of how adaptable and how resilient Malayalam is. That ability to evolve and change while staying true to its roots.
Absolutely.
Speaking of roots, I want to go back to something that really stood out to me in the video. Kerala being mentioned in the Bible as the land of Ophir.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds almost mythical. What's the story there?
It gives us this amazing glimpse into Kerala's ancient history and its connections to the world, even way back in biblical times.
Right?
Remember, Kerala was already a thriving trading hub centuries ago, attracting merchants and explorers from far-off lands.
It really makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in Malayalam's past.
It does, doesn't it? That's the exciting thing about exploring language.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover, some deeper layer to uncover.
Absolutely. I'm ready for more. What other cool details did the video reveal about Malayalam's historical connections?
Okay, well, we already talked about Apostle Thomas and the Syrian Christians, but their impact on Kerala's culture and language is worth revisiting.
Okay.
The Syrian Christians especially were really important in shaping Malayalam's literary traditions. They adapted the Syriac script to write Malayalam, creating this unique blend of influences.
It's a great reminder that language isn't static.
Right.
It's always evolving, interacting with other languages and cultures.
Absolutely.
So what about the Jewish community? What was their role in this linguistic tapestry?
Well, after they fled persecution in Spain and Portugal,
Right.
they found a safe place in Kerala in the 1400s. They brought their Ladino dialect and Hebrew script,
Wow.
adding another layer to Kerala's cultural mix.
Yeah. It's amazing how welcoming Kerala has been
It is.
to people from all over the world
Yeah.
seeking refuge and a new home.
Their legacy is still present today in those synagogues and the remnants of their Ladino dialect.
That's beautiful. It's a testament to Kerala's openness and acceptance.
It really is.
And of course, we can't leave out the Arab traders.
No, absolutely not.
They've had such a lasting impact on Kerala.
They have. Their influence is especially evident in those coastal communities. They blended their culture and language with the local traditions.
Okay.
They adapted the Arabic script to write Malayalam
Wow.
and even introduced new words that have become a part of everyday speech.
It's incredible to see how all these diverse influences have shaped Malayalam.
Yeah, it really is.
It speaks to Kerala's history as this crossroads of cultures, this meeting point for all these different traditions.
Exactly. And amidst all that diversity, Malayalam has still managed to hold on to its own unique identity.
It's amazing. It's like a tree with strong, deep roots, reaching out in every direction, but always staying grounded in its essence.
That's beautiful imagery.
And it's that strength, that resilience, that ability to adapt and evolve while still holding on to its roots.
Right.
That's what makes Malayalam so captivating.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up our deep dive, I'm curious about the challenges Malayalam faces today.
Okay.
We've talked about its history and unique features, but how's it navigating this modern world of globalization and the dominance of languages like English and Hindi?
That's an important question, and one we'll explore more as we continue our dive into the mysteries of Malayalam.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Malayalam. We've really been uncovering so much about this language, from its unique sounds and that intricate script to its rich history and all those cultural influences.
It's been amazing peeling back the layers of this linguistic tapestry.
Yeah, for sure. But as with any living language, there are always challenges and opportunities, especially now with our rapidly changing world.
You're right. The video touched on the influence of English and Hindi.
Yeah.
You know, on those regional languages like Malayalam.
Right. It seems like globalization and how dominant those languages are, especially in things like media and education. It seems like that's putting pressure on languages spoken in specific regions.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
English and Hindi have become really prominent in India, especially for younger generations.
Yeah, makes sense.
And, you know, while being multilingual is definitely a plus, there's a concern that this widespread use of English and Hindi, it could affect how fluent younger speakers are in their native languages, like Malayalam.
Yeah, if kids are exposed to English and Hindi more often, both at school and through media,
Right.
they might not have as many chances to use and develop their Malayalam skills.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just language proficiency.
Yeah.
It's about cultural identity.
Right. It's deeper than just words and grammar.
It is. Language is such a powerful way to preserve heritage, to pass down values, to connect generations. And if younger generations lose touch with their mother tongue, well, they risk losing a vital part of their cultural identity.
So it's about that deep connection that language provides to your roots, to your heritage.
Exactly. Language is a living embodiment of culture, history, and tradition. It shapes how we think, how we see things, how we understand the world.
It makes me think about that folktale of Vararuchi and Panchami. It seems like that story is meant to remind people about their shared heritage, their interconnectedness.
That's such a good connection to make. That story really highlights unity and inclusivity.
Yeah,
Those are values that are deeply rooted in Kerala's culture.
for sure.
And language plays a crucial role in preserving and passing down those values.
So what can we do to make sure Malayalam continues to thrive in this world that's more interconnected than ever?
Yeah, what can we do? How do we preserve its richness and make sure it has a future?
Right, those are the big questions.
The video doesn't really lay out specific solutions,
Okay.
but it emphasizes how important it is to promote Malayalam in education, in the media, in the arts. It's about making space for the language to flourish and be passed on.
Right. Makes me wonder if technology could play a part.
Oh, interesting.
Like, what about language learning apps, online dictionaries, even social media? Could they make Malayalam more accessible and engaging, especially for young people?
I think technology could be a huge help in preserving and revitalizing languages. Language learning apps can make it more interactive, more fun.
Right.
Online dictionaries can help people understand all those nuances.
Yeah.
And social media, well, it can connect people who speak Malayalam,
Right.
creating these online communities where the language can be used and celebrated.
So technology, even though it's sometimes seen as a threat to these more traditional languages,
Yeah,
it can also be a powerful tool to help preserve them.
exactly. It's about being creative and using new tools to connect with those younger generations, making language learning relevant for them.
And I'm also thinking about the power of storytelling, which the video we've been talking about does so well.
Yeah,
It makes learning about Malayalam interesting and engaging.
it does.
So what about highlighting all those stories, the myths, the folklore? Could that be a way to spark interest and help people connect with the cultural significance of the language?
I think so. Stories are amazing at grabbing our attention and taking us to different places.
Right.
So sharing those rich traditions of storytelling, those folk tales, poetry, songs,
Yeah.
those can create a powerful emotional connection to the language and its cultural roots.
It makes me realize that learning a new language is so much more than just memorizing words and grammar rules.
It is.
It's about really immersing yourself in the culture, understanding its history, appreciating its unique beauty.
You said that perfectly. It's about embracing everything about the language,
Hmm.
the sounds, the rhythm, the stories, and the people who bring it to life.
So, for you, our listener, what are the big takeaways from our deep dive into Malayalam? What have we learned?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Malayalam, just like Kerala itself, is a testament to the power of resilience and adaptation. It's a language that's embraced diversity throughout its history.
Right.
It's absorbed influences from all these different cultures and languages, but it's still held on to its own distinct character.
It's a reminder that change doesn't have to mean loss. It can be a chance for growth, for creating something new and vibrant, while still respecting those traditions of the past.
Beautifully put. And for you, our listener, this deep dive might just be the start of your Malayalam journey.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll feel inspired to listen to some Malayalam music,
Okay.
or watch a Malayalam film,
Cool.
or even try learning a few basic phrases.
What a great way to connect with the language.
It is.
And experience its beauty firsthand.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked your curiosity to explore other languages and cultures too, to uncover all those hidden treasures that are waiting to be discovered in the world of human expression.
The world is full of amazing languages just waiting to be explored.
It is. Learning a new language is like opening a door to a whole new way of seeing and experiencing things.
It's a journey, a chance to expand your horizons and connect with people from different walks of life.
It really is.
Who knows? Maybe we'll go on another deep dive together soon.
That'd be fun.
Exploring a new language and uncovering its secrets.
I'm always ready for a linguistic adventure. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those linguistic fires burning.